reality check. You know, looking back and saying, what is it that Allah has given us? Especially in Pakistan. I mean, it's a tragedy that 2-3 generations ago, not even a century has gone by, that young people were out in the streets, they were making prayer to Allah the entire night. Oh Allah, give us a land where we can worship you, where we can live as Muslims, where, you know, our children can say La ilaha illallah one day, right? And these people were slaughtered like animals, like Muslim blood was cheap. And these people died so that one day we could stand up and we could say La ilaha illallah, that we can be at the masjid 5 times a day and not have to worry about somebody burning the masjid down while we're inside, or being shot when we come outside. That's what our ancestors lived like that, you know, and that's what they lived like. And here we are, the adhan is going on, and you're playing on your PlayStation 3. I don't know if they have, you guys must have PlayStation 3 in Pakistan. Or you're watching YouTube or whatever, and like the adhan's going on and like it's nothing. That adhan was the call to somebody to risk their life at one point in that same land. And now it's become so cheap, it's so valueless, you know. What does it mean when you hear Allahu Akbar? You know, in Arabic, I won't get technical with you guys, but in Arabic, Akbar doesn't mean greatest. It means greater. It's a comparative form. You know how you have comparative adjectives and superlative adjectives? Akbar is a comparative adjective. When you hear the adhan, you know what you're hearing? You're hearing that Allah, the call to Allah is greater than whatever you're doing. I don't care if you're at a work meeting. I don't care if you're in the middle of, you know, a graduation ceremony. You're in the middle of an exam. Whatever's going on. The call to Allah is greater. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. The only people who would actually accept that Allah is the greatest are the people who would testify that it's the truth. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I mean, even if you just think about the adhan and what it's saying, it's a transformational experience. But it's a tragedy that we don't experience it like that. That we don't see it for what it is. The added challenge for you guys that I wanted to talk to you about in the second half of my talk is that you're living in a place that is the absolute most chaotic combination of interpretations of Islam in the world. You have all these different groups, you have all these different scholars, and they have their own brand of Islam, and they're all trying to basically build their alliances and build their following, etc. And so it can be very challenging, and for someone on the outside to look at that, they would just, it's easy to say, oh, these mullahs, all they do is fight each other and make groups and bash each other, so why should I even bother? And you know what? It's understandable. That is something that Bani Israel had done before us, and they ended up, you know, Allah talks about this idea of Muslims, you know, knowledgeable Muslims clashing with each other, and then the next generation just dropping their religion altogether, because they're like, why should I even bother with this, right? So Allah says in Quran, for example, in Surah Shura, He says, وَمَا تَفَرَّقُوا إِلَّا مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْعِلْمُ بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ. They didn't disagree with each other until after knowledge came to them, out of an arrogance and a rebellion among themselves, and urged to rebel against each other and dominate each other. That's why they were arguing. And then at the end of that ayah he says, you know, وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ أُورِثُوا الْكِتَابَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ مُرِيبٍ. Those who were given the book after them in inheritance, they're in serious doubt about it. They're completely in doubt about their religion because they see the people of knowledge arguing with each other. It's like, how can this religion be true if these knowledgeable people are arguing, right? So I understand that challenge. I'm not saying that that challenge is not there, but at the same time, you are intelligent people. You're going to college, you're going to high school, you're living in the 21st century, the century of open information. You have the obligation to at least study the religion for yourself, sincerely, not to cut corners, not to justify for yourself what you're doing is halal or not for those cheap or low purposes, but really to find your purpose in life. Why are you alive? Why has Allah put you on this earth? You know, why has He gifted you with La ilaha illallah? Wallahi, the youth of the young people of the ummah are the greatest treasure, and them wasting their life, them not appreciating the talent and the potential that they have, and what they can do for the world, it's a tragedy. It really is. As you're watching this video, the events of Egypt are unfolding before us. And I couldn't help but talk to you about that too. It's young people that brought a dictator to his knees. With all the corruption in Pakistan and all the things that are going on around you, and how hopeless the situation is from the economic point of view, the political point of view, the social point of view, how the country is in chaos constantly, and all we hear is bad news. you guys can be a force of good. You guys can be a force of moral reform, social reform, economic reform. It's a matter of us saying that this deen is a means of empowerment and pride. We can really do this, honestly. It can be done. And it's in your hands. It's, Allah has given that to you. So, take it and take it with pride. And, I'm talking right now to the men and the women that are listening. That this is a responsibility to uplift the Muslim community in Pakistan, to uplift them, and to have them live by the principles of justice, live by the principles of mercy, to truly show Islam what Islam is supposed to be. That's your responsibility. And the hijacking of Islam by groups that, when you think of them, when you think of Islam, all they want you to think of is fighting and killing and anger and rage and who's going to hell, and this negative view of Islam that's being perpetrated and is being pumped constantly by the enemies of Islam, and unfortunately from within the Muslims also. You have to take our deen back. You really do. It's our deen, and we have to stand by it as the way it's supposed to be stood by.